Hello. Oh, swallow. Hello. Welcome to another edition? I don't know, whatever that's called, of Daily Creativity with yours truly, Charlotte Burns. Now, today is a Saturday, and way back a couple of months ago, I was actually doing card making every Saturday and showing you a different card technique. So I thought I'd jump back on the card making bandwagon and show you this super fun card, which I will open up in a minute, and also talk to you a little bit about card making and, of course, stamping and everything. So my name's Charlotte Burns. I'm a close to my heart maker, and I feature close to my heart products, just in case you didn't know. These stamps here, these two here, are stamps that are featured this month, the month of June, in case you're watching somewhere else in some other time. And they are part of the Tutti Frutti range. So Tutti Frutti is the paper suite that we're currently promoting, let's call it that. And I love with Close to My Heart how their stamps tie in with their papers. Now, I never used to think, oh, yep, I'll grab the stamps as well unless I really like them. And especially with these two, you know, we've just come into winter. Over in America where these stamps are made, they are coming into summer. And I looked at them and went, no, I don't want them. I don't need them. And then I saw a couple of pages created and I went, oh, they're nice. So here are the pages, or parts of the pages, that I reproduced. And thanks so much to Doreen Camilleri, who showed us how to make these pages using scraps. These are all using 1-inch squares. Now this here I did stamp onto a paper and then coloured it in, cut it out, and then stuck it to my page. I've coloured this in using alcohol markers, and the other page is a little bit different, but this one I have stamped directly onto the page. That can be a little bit daunting for some people at some points, certainly for me. What happens if you make a mistake? Well, don't worry too much. If you do make a mistake with stamping direct to the page, you can always fix it by stamping onto another piece of paper and sticking it over the top. So if I had have mucked up any of these, what I could have done was just cut a strip of paper, stamped onto that strip of paper and stuck it over the top of here, and that would have worked perfectly. So there's a couple of ways you can do it, as I mentioned. When I'm stamping to colour in with alcohol markers, I tend to stamp onto separate paper so it doesn't show through the back of my paper. So gorgeous, gorgeous layout. Thanks again, Doreen. You can purchase them as paper packs, or you can purchase with sticker sheets. And again, sticker sheets, you know, if I don't see anything on the sticker sheet that I don't really like, then I don't bother buying it. But this particular paper suite, the Tutti Frutti, I did end up getting one pack with the sticker sheet. And I'm really glad that I did, because with this particular card, I was at a complete loss as to what to put on the front. So I'll show you in a minute. I'll actually do it in a minute, what I'm putting on the front of this one, and that way I don't need to stamp. And it's also going to help when I go to use that for my scrapbooking pages that I'm doing so many of. Because, for instance, if you look at this page, if I only had 3 photos and they had ice creams in them, this is just a really great way to fill in the page so it doesn't have this big blank white spot up the top. So the stamps are a great way to fill it in, the stickers are a great way to fill it in, and all of that. Now, a tip with stamping, if you are doing some stamping, why not stamp some extra on a bit of cardstock, which is what I did here. I didn't have the stamps at the time, wasn't planning on buying the stamps, so I did some extra stamping on this sheet here. And I'm going to give you a couple of tips with this as well. I did end up buying the stamps, which was a bit naughty, but when they're on special like they are at the moment, you know, you just kind of have to. So I wanted to show you this stamp in particular. This one is what I stamped with this. This is what I'd call a solid stamp, as is the little stick, whereas this is not a solid stamp. This one allows you to colour it in, whereas this one colours it itself in. Now, if we have a look, and the blue and the lines around the stamps show me that there is a thin cut. You don't have to buy the thin cut, and certainly with the page over there, I didn't use a thin cut. Doreen hadn't bought the thin cut, which I think is wise, save some money. I have bought the thin cut because I'm silly and didn't want to save some money. But what I wanted to show you was with this particular stamp, I'm going to pop that back underneath. With this particular stamp, we've got the isopole and then the stick, which is great because it means that you can stamp a different coloured stick to the isopole and it looks really good. But if you look at these 3 sticks here, they're a lot wider, as are these ones down here, than this one here. And that's because when the pages were being created, there were lots and lots of people using the stamps, and someone had come along and pulled the stamp off the block and put it upside down. And the back of this stamp is wider than the front. And so I was stamping and I went, that doesn't look right. So I turned it over and went, that looks better, except I left a bit of a gap. And then I went, but if I want to put all of these on a page, I'm going to need these all the same. So I flipped it back over and stamped again. So do be aware when you've got a solid stamp like that, that you do have it on the right side. Now, these look okay. If I didn't show you that one, they still look okay, but I do think that stick looks better. So there's a little bit of a tip when you come to stamping your stamps, that you do need to make sure with some of them that they are around the right way. I'll pop that back in the packet in a minute, because let's get started on this awesome, gorgeous card. So this one here, I'm just going to show you again the sticker sheet. So this is the sticker sheet that comes with Tutti Frutti, and it's super cool because if I can get it to shine, see those shiny bits, that's actually UV coated. So parts of this, for instance, this bit here, is UV coated, so it's a little bit shiny. Now I had a look, this is actually out of the scrapbooking workshop that I cut up the other day and we'll be putting together, and I had a look through all the pages, and this particular sunglasses set is not going to be used. So I'm going to put this one on the front of the card. I thought about using this one, but I just thought yellow and yellow might not work. But how cool does this look? I'm just going to take that bit off. How cool does that look? And then I can leave a bit of room, might leave a bit of room. No, I'm not going to leave any room. I was going to say to stamp something on, but because I have stuck all of this down and it is a bit 3D'd, I'm not going to stamp anything on there. If anything, I might do a little sentiment on a piece of white and then put that down there. How cool does that look? All right, so yep, that's a really cute card, Charlotte, but you're not really showing me what the card does. So let's have a look. You slide this off and then it opens up. Ta-da, look at that. How cool is that? And then you slide that one back on. Now, it's not as easy to slide it back on, I will admit. It does take a little bit of fiddling, but that's okay because the recipient of this card is not going to be sliding it back on. They're going to be opening it up and going, oh, wow, that's really cute. And then standing it up and maybe throwing it in the bin. I don't know. So let me show you. And I will post this up onto the page so that you've got the ingredients or the measurements for this card. But as I said, I've called this a Gatefold Sliding Closure card because I didn't actually know what it was called. And what we need is base cardstock. Now, one thing that I love to do where I can is to actually use a card base from Close to My Heart. Anything that requires, like any card that ends up being 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, generally speaking, I can make it out of a card base. So this is a card base that Close to My Heart I've bought from Close to My Heart, and it is scored at 4 1/4. So normally you would fold this in half and have a 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 card. But what I've done is I've taken my 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 piece of cardstock, card base, and I've scored it at 2 1/4 from each end. Now I did do a boo-boo here. You might be able to see 2 score lines. I did a boo-boo there, so I need to check that. But pop that in your scoring or whatever thing you do and score in at 2 1/4 and then 2 1/4. When we come to fold this, we're not actually going to fold exactly on the score lines. And again, I'll show you that later. So we need this. Then we need some inner cardstock, and that's because 1, it looks pretty, and 2, because if you are using a card base, you want to cover this so it doesn't bend. So this I have at, and sorry if you don't like 1/8 of an inch, I've got it at 5 3/8 tall by 4 1/4 wide. Then we need obviously some white to go in the center of that so that you've got something to write on. And this is 5 1/8 tall. So I've just come in 1/4 inch by 4 inches wide. So that's the inside of the card. Then the outer paper, so let me bring this one across, this outer paper here, and I've changed the paper this time. I'm using the popsicle, I think they call it popsicles, the icy poles. We call them icy poles. Hey America, these are icy poles. These are 5 3/8 tall by 2 inches wide, and you need 2 of those, and they're going to fit really nicely. Now I cut one piece and then cut it in half, so these are matchy. Same with this one, because I like them when they match. Okay, I'm going to pop them to the side. The next thing, this is for the cover slider. So for the cover slider, you need 4 pieces of 3 inch by 3 inch. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces of 3 inch by 3 inch. 2 of them, however, need to be scored at 1 1/2 inches. So straight down the middle, 2 of them need to be scored at 1 1/2 inches. And then you need some coloured cardstock to cover it. Now, that can be any size you like, but I have done mine at 3 1/2 by 3 1/2 and then 3 by 3. As I said, you can have it any size, so you can make that bigger. You can't make it smaller because, well, unless you're happy for the white to show out from underneath, but this just covers the white, which is great. All right, so now I've got all my pieces. I have realised that I don't have any adhesive right here, so give me a second, because I cleaned up my scrapbook room, my craft room, and so I need some adhesive. You don't need 3D foam tape, you just need adhesive. All right, let's go. So with your card base, this one is the 5 1/2 by 8 1/2. We're going to fold these pieces into the center. Now, the good thing about having this score line here is I can actually see exactly where the center is, which is really important, because although I'm folding into the center, I want to make sure that I don't go all the way into the center. So if we look at this one, there's a gap, and that's super important because otherwise this doesn't have room to slide down. So this one, as I said, I scored it incorrectly. So it's the inner one that I need to fold. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of turn that, no, it's the outer one. Going to roll that in towards the center. Leave that little bit of a gap. And then come out and burnish. And one thing that I tell anyone who's folding cards is don't trust your score line. All right. When you've got a score line and you need to fold something, and I'll do it in a second, line up your papers, line them up, and then press down and come out like that. So I'll explain that a bit better in a minute. All right, so that is now folded how I want it. We can stick in the inside. So we're going to choose the dark side, sorry, the true color. Dark side. Who here watches Star Wars or likes Star Wars? Now I know I'm using an excessive amount of tape and some of you are screaming, but hey, it's my tape. Probably don't need to use that much tape, but I am, and that's okay. So we're just going to stick this down. This just has like the tiniest little border, and you do need to make sure with this one that it's right at the edges, which that one wasn't, because it does only just fit in this gap here. That is folding there, yes, good. You can bring this in a little bit and make it a bit smaller if you want to, but I like it right to the edges. So I'm just going to do that and make sure that closes properly, which it does. Beautiful. And then we get rid of that there. And if you don't like it on the back, not that anyone's going to really look at the back of your card, you can always cover that with some white cardstock as well. So I'm going to then stick this one down. I'll put one gap in just for those who are screaming at me, don't use so much tape. But it's my tape. Generally speaking, when I'm scrapbooking, I don't use as much tape as when I'm making a card, because a scrapbook page is going to go into a memory protector. And it's not going to be handled or anything like that. Whereas when I'm making a card, because it's going to be going into an envelope, it's going to go through the mail, it's then going to come out of the envelope and people are going to touch it. I like to put a bit more adhesive on so it holds together. So I'm just going to make sure that my two pieces are going on the right sides. These just get stuck on. There you go. See, I left a little gap. And pop these on. And again, this is just a really tiny gap around the outside. Have a go and try it with, making a larger gap if you want. But that is why I've used the 1/8 of an inch measurement. Now, if you are not confident with the 1/8 of an inch, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Eventually I will get to comments. I was looking and seeing that my following up with comments in my Facebook Lives has been pretty lax of late. So I was going to jump on last night and answer some of the comments, and I just didn't get around to it. My apologies. But do let me know in the comments if you want if you want me to go through how to measure 1/8 of an inch, and I'm more than happy to do that. Now, the top of this, I hadn't actually decided what I was going to do, and I'm not going to bore you with, fussy cutting something out and putting it on. I was thinking of possibly doing, one of these icy poles, putting that on, and then a sentiment, but I'll probably leave it for another day. But I do need to show you how to put this slider mechanism together. So these two pieces that we haven't scored, and one of them has got actually stamping on it, which is fine. If you've got stamping, if it's a scrap piece of paper, it doesn't matter with the solid ones because they're going to get stuck down anyway, as long as you don't stick it to the outside. These ones here that are scored, what you want to do is fold them. And what I was saying before about a score line is that when you fold it, don't just go on the score line. Fold it so that it comes across to the edge of your paper, so the edges or the corners meet, just in case you've scored it, not you, but your scoring tool or the person who scored it, their scoring tool has scored it incorrectly, which I can see with this one it has, and then do your burnishing or your pressing down folding. Okay, this one, it wouldn't have folded in half if I had have just gone by the score line. So both of these you do want to fold in half. And if you don't have a scoring tool, you know what? Just fold them in half. You don't need a scoring tool to do this. So we're going to fold them like so. Good morning to Val. Thanks so much for commenting. Nice to have you with me. Now we're going to stick these onto here. I think you can probably see how it's coming together. Now this one I do want to put plenty of adhesive on because I don't want it coming off. So I'm going to do this, and this is the open end. So open end, I'm going to line this up with the edge. So the open end, not the folded, the open end goes to the edge and the folded goes to the center. So that's really sticky. Going to, actually I could probably open that up. Stick that on like so, lining them up as best you can. There we go. We're going to do the same with the other folded piece. So again, all the way around the edge of this. You need a good tape. It doesn't need to be like the red tape or anything. This is a nice strong permanent tape. We don't actually have this one anymore. I'm just trying to run my stock out. This was the old Tombow. So that's the old Tombow tape that I'm using there. It was the first one I put my hands on. All right, now with this one, don't line it up with the edge. What you want to do is actually make sure that it's square in the middle. So bump it up with the folded edge of the other one. So that's the open side and that's the folded side. you want to put the folded side to the folded side and then squash down like so. Now, if you do find, mine is, oh, perfect. If you do find that it's not quite square, you can always trim it off. And that is what I ended up doing with this one. But ultimately, it's going to go on the back of your little slider piece. So you shouldn't see it at all. All right, next what we want to do is pop this one on top. And I found the best way to do that is just to, again, take your tape. If you're using, you know, double-sided tape, tape runner, whatever. Wet glue, dry glue. Go around here, and I am going to go all the way around and make sure that that's nice and stuck. I was going to say something then. And then we want to center this onto this one. So I'm actually going to turn it upside down, and I'm going to put it on like this. So I'm lining up the top corners, trying to anyway, and then pressing that down, and there is my slider mechanism. So what you'll find is you've got this sort of effect. So see, you've got the joint in the middle so that these two open up like that. How cool is that? Give it a bit of a press down. Sorry about the camera shaking. All right, now I know that this one is going to go down solid, and I'm not sure what I'm doing with this, if I'm going to stamp with it or something. So I will stick this one, these two together just to show you. And I'm going to do the darker color on the outside again. Now, that was a mistake because this is actually, oh, don't you love making mistakes live on camera? I don't want that. You need to put the adhesive on this piece. Okay, ladies? So again, I don't have my rub and remove immediately handy. Give me 1 second while I fade my voice out and find my tools. Next time I do a live, I'll make sure I've got my tools next to me. Right. It's okay if you make a mistake. There's either more room for bling or there's a tool that will fix it, and this is a tool that will fix it. This is my rub and remove. Now, I apologize in advance. The table will probably shake, but with my rub and remove, I can just come along. And no, that wasn't deliberate. I just come along and this will simply rub off, which is great. So one thing I did want to let you know is next Saturday, I will actually be at a mini convention. It's kind of like a mini camp, but for adults, and we learn stuff. Previewing the latest annual catalogue, which is super exciting for us, not you. Unless you're a consultant, in which case it's exciting for you. So this is a new catalogue. It's our annual catalogue. So it's the big one with like heaps of new stuff. Like there's some paper, there's some stamps, there's some tools, there's some new colours. It's really exciting. But I will be at the convention and I'll be doing, I think we start at 9 o'clock. So I might try and come live and do a card at 8 o'clock. Otherwise I might do it in the evening. Not sure yet, but I'll try and come live. All right, I'm just going to have a look at this and see which side looks better, because when your recipient takes this off, they may look at the back, and you could actually even put a little sentiment here, secret sentiment, but they will look at the back, or they may look at the back. So just looking at the back, there's this side and then there's this side. This side doesn't look as nice, so I'm going to stick this side to that and hide it. So this is where you put the adhesive, okay? And yes, you were probably all there going, you're doing it wrong. You're sticking it on the wrong side. Again, I want to make sure that this does stick really, really firmly to that. I don't want it coming off. And I'm using the dark side, so I'm going to center this up like so. Press that down, and hey presto, bingo, it's done. So if you did want to put a secret sentiment on here, I would suggest that you do that before sticking all of this together. unless your stamps are super good and they're going to, you know, show through. I mean, it's not too bad, but with the bump in the middle, you may not get a great stamped image unless you wanted to write something or draw something. But that's why I use stamps, because I'm not good at writing or drawing. So I'm going to finish this off another time and hopefully post a picture. But the way this works is, so this is something you need to be aware of. These little flappy bits here, that's what goes down. You get to that. Yes, that was a strange noise. This is what goes down on either side of your card. So putting it together is a little bit tricky. So it goes down there and there. And okay, so maybe I haven't mastered it yet. No, there you go, like that. And then it slides down. So make sure, here's another tip. Doesn't that look so cool? It looks so good. I'm so pleased with myself. When you go to stick this one on, so once I've decorated this and I go to stick it on, don't stick it on, you know, a blank one that's off the card. Put it on the card, put your sticky on, and then put this on. Why? Because otherwise, this is a directional piece. If you put it on the wrong way, so say you put it on that way, so I put the sunnies on that way, and then slid it on, well, it's not going to slide on and it's going to be the wrong way around. So there's a little tip for you. All right, I hope you've enjoyed watching this card. I hope that you have a go at it. It's fun. It's fun. I'm going to be sending these out to a couple of very special people, and I'll post a picture of the cards once I finish that one. As I said, I'll probably use the Icipole. Not sure. Don't know what I'm doing yet. But anyway, have a great day. I have got some lovely ladies coming up today, and we're going to have a lot of fun. I hope you have fun today. Stay safe, keep crafting, and bye for now.